The Tuesday, June 3rd edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, lawmen are probing a shooting death in Lynch's St. Philip. Dead is Derek Hunt, a mental patient who resided in the area. Reports are that Hunt was shot several times by another man following a dispute around 3:15 p.m. A crowd gathered at the scene on hearing news of Hunt's death. The woman at the center of the work stoppage at the Sanitation Service Authority is back on the job. The employee, with 14 years of service, returned to work after meeting with management at the SSA headquarters upstairs the National Petroleum Corporation in Wildy this morning. Staff downed tools on hearing their colleague was dismissed because she was late in submitting a doctor's certificate. The SSA's Public Relations Officer Carl Padmore says management has reviewed the document and rescinded the dismissal. After meeting with their union representatives, the employees returned to work.
The thing is, we all appreciate the fact that ever so often we have to re-educate staff about what happens when one is on sick leave, what should happen in terms of notification to the office. But at the end of the day, the SSA, in good spirit and in good faith, have reinstated Deborah to her post. At the SSA, the situation is now back to a level of normalcy, and work continues as usual, cleaning up the highways, byways of Barbados.
The Emergency Management Advisory Council has completed the final draft of a national mass crowd plan for Barbados. News of this from Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Judy Thomas. She says the draft is on its way to Cabinet for final approval.
That has to do with the planning for emergency in cases that there are large festivals or large events going on in the country. We have to guarantee that there's the safety of the patrons in that particular thing, and that has been approved by the EMAP. And coming into the new EMAP September, there are a number of other policies and programs that will be carried to the EMAP.
The DEM director made the comments at the official press conference at the start of the 2014 Atlantic hurricane season. Barbadians should invest in basic backup telecommunications systems for their homes as part of preparations for the 2014 hurricane season now underway. The call from Deputy Chief Telecommunications Officer with the Telecommunications Unit, Clifford Bostic. Giving an update, he says the basic national telecoms systems have been tested and are working well. But Mr. Bostic wants citizens to adopt similar measures for their own safety.
Also would like to caution Barbadians that we should make sure that we have backup systems in place for communications, that you should have your normal cell phone, you should have a backup cell phone, you should have a very basic telephone set, because emergency communication dictates that it's those systems that don't depend on power, lots of power, that will work for you in the initial stages immediately after the impact.
The international rating agency Moodys Investor Service has downgraded Barbados government bond rating. It was moved 3 notches to B3 from Ba3. Moodys says the outlook remains negative. Moodys adds the downgrade reflects following drivers: reinforcement of negative fiscal trends, increasing government debt ratios projected at above 100% of GDP by financial year 2014-2015, and its expectation of a decline in international reserves this year and the central bank financing of the fiscal deficit. Well, in response, leader of the opposition, Mia Motley, says the island was warned that increasing its debt would lead to a further downgrade. She says the move by Moodys shows it cannot be business as usual.
2 weeks ago, we increased the local loans limit to $4 billion, and now today, we are increasing the limit under the Special Loans Act by $1 billion to $2.5 billion. We were warned that continued central bank financing of our fiscal deficit will put pressure on our exchange rate, yet the central bank continues to do so. We were warned that increasing our fiscal deficit and missing our targets for fiscal consolidation will lead to a further downgrade.
Prime Minister Fundle Stewart says the local political class is here to stay. During his tribute to the late Lionel Craig in the lower house, the Prime Minister said amidst the criticisms and jabs at Barbadian politicians, their role has not diminished. Mr. Stewart says Mr. Craig willingly faced the consequences of his choices, even in the face of defeat. He says he served his country well and was a leading light in the Barbados Labour Party and on the national stage. The PM suggests serving in the political arena is still a worthwhile undertaking.
No matter how bitter across this aisle our battles may be, I believe in the political class. I can take all the criticisms, all the abuse coming from the other side, and they can take all coming from me. We are the political class. We do the dirty work. And we are committed to the pursuit of that path. We are not going to allow the democratic procedures for which we have fought, or the democratic rights, to be rolled back by elitists and by snobs. This is the political class. And Lionel Craig belonged to that class, and that is why he qualifies for my commendation today.
Opposition MP Glenn Clark suggests that the late Craig was a politician of his time.
He grew up at a time when he had to be fierce, when he had to take on persons like the Right Excellent Arabara, had to take on a number of heavyweights in the Democratic Labour Party, and he had to fight his way, because we knew that he was not a person who was seen as either a lawyer or a doctor, but he was a grassroots person who for 20 years carried a flag in this Parliament. And he did it with passion. He did it, Mr. Speaker, according to what he believed.
Opposition leader Mia Motley has paid glowing tribute to the late Lionel Craig, a stalwart of the Barbados Labour Party. She suggested his commitment to the party was unwavering and was evidenced by the key role he played in several general elections. Ms. Motley says he would be judged on his overall contribution to political life. She said in his latter days, Craig saw himself as a mentor.
The fact that he could succeed in all that he touched and never lose the common touch, that he could associate with kings and he could relate to the average man who simply had no opportunity to see his way out of anything, is the measure of the man to whom we pay tribute today.
A government minister thinks that parliamentarians, past and present, should be encouraged to record their memoirs. In paying tribute to the late Lionel Craig during the post-lunch session, Tourism Minister Richard Seeley said too many of the stalwarts have passed away without much information about their lives being recorded. Mr. Seeley says this applies to leaders in general.
We need to have more material on the experiences of these men and women. I think, for example, Lionel Craig's memoirs would have made very interesting reading, not only for political operatives, but students of history. Remember, his 20 years in Parliament would have spanned basically the final days of the colony of Barbados and the early days of the nation state in 1966 and 1986. It would have made, in my view, a very interesting read, even reflecting on his times pre-Parliament and post-Parliament.
And in more news from the lower house, we're hearing that some residents of St. Andrew will soon benefit from new housing solutions. The disclosure in the House of Assembly today by Housing Minister Dennis Kelman. He spoke about the development during debate on a resolution to vest 32.2 acres of land at Walker Savannah into the National Housing Corporation. Mr. Kelman says the project is part of government's mandate to provide property in the lower and middle income segments, while at the same time allowing people to get involved in agriculture.
You're going to see all three sections of the ministry kicking into this project. The Ministry of Housing will acquire the land, which they did. The NAC But do the units and rural will help the people with the agricultural land. All 3 sections.
We'll have more news ahead in just a moment. Stay with us.
Most patients are surprised about the hidden acids that are in the foods that they eat. Could be strawberries, blueberries, orange juice, apple juices. The acid can weaken the enamel. It'll soften it up. And once that enamel's gone, we never get it back. I recommend my patients use Pronamel as their everyday toothpaste. Pronamel helps to strengthen the enamel, makes it more resistant to wear. The beauty of using Pronamel is that we can continue to live that healthy lifestyle that we want to live. It's a win-win.
What do you pledge to do for World Environment Day 2014? Are you going to plant a tree, support a local farmer, or learn to swim? There are 21 pledges to choose from, so log on to our website, www.gisbarbados.gov.bb, for the complete list. Then upload a picture of yourself fulfilling your pledge to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/GISBarbados. All posts should read, "On this World Environment Day 2014, I pledge to." Don't be shy, let your environmental light shine on Facebook, and wear green on June 5th to show your commitment to environmental stewardship.
As Barbados prepares for the possibility of a chikungunya outbreak, local health authorities are seeking first-hand experience on how to deal with the infectious virus. A team from the Environmental Health Department will be heading to Antigua and Barbuda in the coming days to learn more about the outbreak there. CBC understands that 2 officials will make up that team headed to St. John's. Local health officials still await the results of tests which will determine if the chikungunya virus has reached Barbados. The Ministry of Health last week sent samples from 7 suspected cases to the Caribbean Public Health Agency in Trinidad for testing. However, the ministry says no positive cases have been detected so far. Meanwhile, officials from the Environmental Health Department are to conduct a walkthrough over the weekend in districts in Christchurch as part of their general surveillance routine across the country. The St. Michael man held at the Grantley Adams International Airport attempting to smuggle drugs into the island has been granted bail after appearing in court. 32-year-old Samuel Andrew Maynard of Hinkson Gap, New Orleans, pleaded not guilty to possession of 12 pounds of cannabis and was told to return to court on June 10th. Maynard was arrested following a joint operation between the drug squad and the Customs and Excise Department over the weekend. Reports are that Maynard arrived from Canada, cleared immigration, and was interviewed by drug squad personnel. He was then referred to Customs, where searches revealed 8 packages of the illegal drug hidden in a false compartment of his suitcase. Another 4 were later discovered concealed in packages of biscuits. A stalwart of 43 years in the education system has retired. The principal of the Harrison College, Winston Critchlow, has been honored at a retirement function held at the Savannah Hotel. There, he was presented with a number of gifts by members of staff and well-wishers. Education Minister Ronald Jones was also present, and he challenged Mr. Critchlow to write a book about his journey as an educator.
Reflect on those you've touched. Sometimes we have to forget, even though that is impossible, those who've put stumbling blocks in our way. It's human beings. Human beings put stumbling blocks in everybody's way. So forgive them whoever they were.
For his part, Mr. Critchlow urged teachers to be more compassionate towards their students. He also expressed appreciation to those who offered support throughout his tenure as principal.
To my many friends, some of whom are here, and whose names are too numerous to call, I thank you for your support and encouragement, and that is much appreciated. You too have contributed to my rich social, and I should also add, religious life. Be assured, in the words of the song, that I wouldn't trade you for the world.
One of Barbados' more popular entertainers will be offering a different flavor for the 2014 crop over season. Mikey has declared that he will be entering this year's Pickety Crop competition. He made the announcement this morning at Divi South Winds during a press conference held to reveal the projects being undertaken by the Team Mikey charity. Another change this year will see him based in the Big Show tent this season instead of the headliners. The singer says the switch in tent has not affected his relationship with the Soca Cartel band.
Now, contrary to a lot of the rumors that have been going around, being that there's some feud between myself and Blood or myself and the headliners camp, we are still extremely good friends and very good workmates. So let me take this little time to explain the move to Big Show. This move was a result of the real possibility earlier this year that there would not have been the headliners for 2014.
Some of the projects being undertaken by the singer's 3-year-old Team Mikey charity include a food barrel drive, a scholarship for primary and secondary students, and self-defense classes for females.